All Blacks legend Miles Milianu has said that Rassie Rasmus has been mucking around against Georgia and Italy, and he's tipping that Australia could beat the Boks in the Rugby Championship. I'm going to be breaking it all down in this video, giving you my thoughts on Australia, the Rugby Championship, and Rassie Rasmus' preparation for the Rugby Championship. If you're new around here, my name is Jordan Burrs. This channel is all about South African rugby, so please hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Leave your opinions down in the comments, and as always, leave this video a like. Let's get into it. So I do think his statement of Rassie Rasmus has been mucking around is slightly aggressive. Rassie Rasmus obviously has a plan in the build-up to the Rugby Championship, but this is a good opportunity for us as Springbok fans to kind of look back as well as look forward and kind of see if we can figure out what Rassie Rasmus's plan is, because from everyone else's perspective, Australia have been performing really well against the British and Irish Lions. Yes, the first test maybe here is neither here nor there. That second test match, Australia were firing, ended up losing 26-29. They were ahead for a lot of the game. And I do think Australia are one of those teams that you can lose to on any day. A lot of people thought coming into the Rugby Championship that Australia would be almost a gimme game for the Springboks. But I think if you combine the prep that the Springboks have had against the Barbarians, 2 against Italy, and against Georgia, are we ready for the Australians to come to South Africa after they've sort of been battle tested against the British and Irish Lions? Now, that probably opens up a whole nother debate on whether we think the British and Irish Lions could beat the Springboks. In my opinion, I think the Springboks at the moment would beat the current British and Irish Lions team 3-0. I don't think the British and Irish Lions would be able to get into the series, and I'm saying that in terms of winning a game. I do think South Africa, the Springboks, would win that series 3-0 at the moment with the two teams that are put out there. So, I mean, I might get roasted in the comments for that from the Northern Hemisphere, but that's just my thinking. I think Springbok Rugby is sort of the world leader at the moment, and Stephen Donaldson also agrees with that. Also, an ex-All Black legend says that the Springboks game is the top tier at the moment, but have we been prepared enough through those first 4 test matches to go into a Rugby Championship, which, if you look at it now, seems quite difficult to win, because you've got Australia who have come up against the British and Irish Lions. They've got a good test. Then the Springboks go away to New Zealand to play 2 test matches, one at Eden Park where the All Blacks haven't lost for 50 straight games since 1994, then to Wellington, and then we need to play Argentina in Durban as well as London. And we know that sometimes Argentina can get the better of the Springboks. I mean, we saw it last season where Argentina ended up beating the Springboks away from home. So I think let's start with the mucking around statement, because that is what this video is about. That's what the title is. That's what the thumbnail is about. Do we think that Rassie Rasmus has been mucking around? Now, I think the comparison we need to make is intensity versus innovation. It's not a secret that Rassie Rasmus loves his innovation. I mean, we've seen it in multiple test matches, from Andre Esterhuizen playing on the flank to the line-out in the 22 twice, to a couple of other things. Now, Rassie Rasmus has used these 4 test matches. I think he's played 47 different players in these 4 test matches. So the objective is clear. He's trying to build depth. He's trying to figure out what combinations are going to work best for the Springboks in the build-up to this Rugby Championship. And he's trying to find out which players fit into key positions. If we look at our number 8 stocks at the moment, they're very, very low, with Cameron Hanekom injured, Ulrich Loh injured, Juarno Christus was set to be quite promising this season, also got injured. You got Jasper Visser out with a red card, which kind of leaves Evan Roos, Jean-Luc Depree, and Kwagga Smith. Now, Kwagga is probably going to start on the bench, because that's just where he performs best. He's our best impact player coming off of the bench. And then you got Jean-Luc Depree and Evan Roos, who, to be honest, if Cameron Hanekom, Ulrich Loh, Jasper Visser are all there, they're probably not even making the squad. So much so that Rassie Rasmus has now banked on Cobus Visser to come in and in that 8 position and potentially play in the Rugby Championship in a position that he doesn't normally play in. Right? He tested it against Georgia. Cobus Visser is a lock, sometimes a flanker for the Blue Bulls. So 8 is definitely the issue. Rassie Rasmus was also testing out the front row. Boan Venter, Manus van der Merwe, Neertling Forshie unfortunately didn't make it. Jan-Hendrik Wessels, where does he fit in? Is it at hooker? Is it at prop? I think we found out now that he fits in at prop. Who's our starting 9 and 10? Is it Grant Williams and Manie Lebok, or is Handré Pollard going to start against Australia? So I think Rassie Rasmus was using these 4 test matches to answer a plethora of questions Willie LaRue, Damian Willemse, or Apelele Fassi in that 15 jersey? Can Kanan Moody start ahead of Jesse Creel? There were so many questions that needed answering. And to be honest, I think we still have those questions. Yes, we've played 4 test matches. Yes, maybe we didn't get tested in those 4 test matches. But how many of those questions has Rassie Erasmus answered? He's the only one who knows that. In my opinion, maybe 50% of them. There still are a couple of question marks around the team and who should be playing and who should be coming off of the bench and who shouldn't be playing. So there are a lot of questions to unravel there. The next question to ask is, have the Springboks been tested and will they be ready in terms of intensity against an Australia who have now just gone through 2, and by the time will have gone through 3 test matches against the British and Irish Lions, where the standard is very, very high. Australia have been sort of one of those teams that have been lacking a lot of form over recent years. And I won't lie, this series against the British and Irish Lions has definitely surprised me. So while I do think the claims are valid of Rassie Erasmus has been mucking around, and it's easy to say that from an outsider's perspective, I do tend to agree with it in the fact that maybe we haven't had big enough games in the build-up to the Rugby Championship to where all the rust is going to be gone. We have our players set in their positions, the combinations are solid, and the players have that chemistry, because there's been so much chopping and changing. And yes, I can sit here on my chair in my studio and criticize what Rassie Erasmus has done over the past 4 weeks, but at the end of the day, he is working with the plan. And who am I to sort of critique Rassie Erasmus, who's won World Cup after World Cup, knows the Springbok side the best out of anyone in the world? But in my opinion, I am a little bit worried about those Australian games and a little bit worried about those All Blacks games, because I just don't think we've been tested how we should have. I mean, I think the average scoreline was 49-10 in those first 4 games. The Barbarians was an absolute write-off. They did not pitch up. That first Italian test, we made it look very, very difficult for ourselves, and that's where the rust and all of those things come in. The second test against Italy, we looked a lot better. And then Georgia made us look very average for the first sort of 60, 65 minutes, and then we turned it on in the last 10 to 15 minutes, and that can be contributed to maybe Andre Pollard coming on, maybe us wearing Georgia down and dominating them up front in terms of collisions, and their fitness and physicality just wasn't where it needed to be in the last sort of 10 to 15 minutes. So there's a lot of questions around this. And while I don't agree with what Miles is saying in the fact that Rassie Erasmus has been mucking around, it does bring up questions on like I've been saying, the intensity. Are we going to be ready? And the only way we're going to know that is when Australia come and play the Springboks at Ellis Park and at Cape Town. How do I see this Rugby Championship going down? Well, look, I think if you asked me before the season started, I would have said that the Springboks are going to win the Rugby Championship, and quite convincingly. I thought at the beginning of the season it's going to be 2 easy games against Australia. We should beat them by 15 or 20 points. We will get over Argentina because one's in Durban, the other one's at our second home, which is London at this point. We should get over them by 10 or 15 points. The only 2 games in the Rugby Championship that I was really worried about were the 2 games against New Zealand, especially the one at Eden Park, and we know that New Zealand turn up against the Springboks, and then it's so difficult to win at Wellington as well, even though the All Blacks don't have a great record at Wellington. So while I'm going to say I don't agree with Rassie Erasmus has been mucking about, I do wish we had better competition leading into the Rugby Championship. It's a hot topic. It's a hot debate. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your opinions down in the comments. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button. Leave this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.